as we mentioned yesterday, we'll have about 10 minutes right now. We had a lot of excitement on Twitter, particularly for the videos and the music. And so we'll take some questions right now, and then we'll bring everything else into the panel later today.
Yeah. I think we'll start with, why do you think people got so hung up on nature versus nurture when it seems kind of obvious that you can't separate an organism from its environment?
You know, it's a really, there's a couple elements to it, right? I mean, if we look in just the 20th century, then we've got the problems between the different schools of thought. We have ethologists and psychologists, naturalists and laboratory scientists, having very different perspectives on how these things work. But this emerged out of much older issues. If you follow science back, you will find controversy in just the term scientific law. And the relationship here is that the term scientific law has to do with God's law. And so, a law and a theory are identical, but back if you were a theological voluntarist like, say, Isaac Newton, then the way that things moved through the universe was because of God's will. And trying to question why something like that happened was, you couldn't do it. You couldn't even, it was because of God, right? And there was no level of being able to subject yourself into that realm of understanding. Whereas, the Cartesians, like, Descartes and his school, said, no, we have to understand God's reasoning in order to understand the world around us. And so, we have these various different kinds of walls that have been built through science for, ever since the Greeks. And, they change and they move and stuff, but it's always been a common trend that something is set up and we say, no, that doesn't matter, or that doesn't influence this question. And, I much prefer to try and put everything on the table.
So as a follow-up to that, we are at a 3-day canine science conference. So why did you think it was so important to bring this topic to all of our viewers across the world?
It drives me crazy when I see those statements of like, well, you've got, pit bulls get, I think I can curse on this show.
Quietly, muffle it. Yeah.
They get the...
We'll just, you go.
They get the shit end of the stick. That's just the way it is. The media, have, glommed onto, issues, and anybody who knows the breed, obviously we know that there are issues with how dogs are being raised and how they're being treated, but, we've glommed onto these ideas, oh, well, you've got 30% that's genetic, and, we can't change that. And it's like, well, unless you're doing gene therapy, you're not changing any of the genetics. They're just stupid comments. Not said by stupid people. They're just said because of a complete and total misunderstanding of how these things interact. And so we have to understand, we have to pull everything together to re-emphasize that, it's like, well, I have I can stop trying to help, a dog if there's something I don't know what to do. Oh, well, that part, there's nothing I can do about it. And maybe there isn't. Maybe it would take you a lifetime to try and work on something. But it's like a caveat we give ourselves, like, okay, well, it's not my fault. It's just, they're just bad genes, or it's just in their genes. They're things I can't change. But you're not trying to change the number of heart valves in the dog. Like you're trying to get it to stop jumping on strangers, or stop chasing cars or squirrels, etc. These things aren't impossible to work on and modify. So when we set up this nature versus nurture, issue like this, we're just giving ourselves reason to stop trying.
We had a question that came from one of our, viewers whose first language is in English, and I just wanted to ask, if homeostasis is not equilibrium, how else would you describe it in simple words or synonyms so that they can just better understand?
Let's see. So...
and it was because homeostasis is a topic that they talk about regularly and revisit, so they just want to understand.
So equilibrium is I mean, I don't know, how about a cooking analogy? I don't cook. Why am I going with a cooking analogy? If you have dough and you spread it out, on with a rolling pin, you're everything's spreading apart. It's moving away from, everything else at less random in that analogy, but it's this idea of things moving apart. If you roll the dough and you knead it, it's the molecules in the dough bouncing off the molecules in either your hand or your rolling pin that are causing it to continue to move. And so the equilibrium is just the movement of molecules, until we reach a state where everything is equidistant and equally distributed. Whereas homeostasis is organization. So if you wanted the difference most fundamentally between equilibrium and homeostasis is equilibrium is just chaos. Nothing's organized. It's the sheets of paper and the books all over the place. Imagine every single item in your house equally distributed everywhere. And then, imagine, Monk's apartment, someone with OCD, so there's a...
No, that's great.
Well, now I'm hungry again because of that analogy. Cookies. Another question about the wolf pack hunting strategies. When things like that can be explained by these simple computational rules, what do you think is important about that finding? What does that tell us? What should we be thinking?
Well, we should remember that things that are in front of us that seem, I talked yesterday about facts and things that we take for granted, things that seem very clear and obvious. And, for years and years and years, you read and you've heard about, hunting strategies. And, like Stratego or, something. Like it's, there's a complexity in the idea of the way it's written about, and, certain, and perhaps it's true, perhaps it isn't, but that you have, some kind of a leader that initiates hunts. I've read that's, probably not really the case, it seems, and especially with Ray's work, that, it's a much, much different phenomenon occurring than, what we think of like a strategy game or a game of chess or Stratego or whatever. It's, and so we can think about that in other areas. We can think about that with just our general way of thinking about things. That there may be something, I don't know about people watching, but when I first started to learn about, emergent phenomenon and looking at wolf hunting strategies just being, we're not talking about dominance hierarchies, we're not talking about, an alpha initiating the hunt, et cetera, et cetera. We're just talking about, a unit of organisms that have to take down something much bigger than a single one can, and that's, that they've evolved to that niche of hunting large, being an apex predator. But that it's just fundamentally, approach to a safe distance and move equidistant around it. It's just there's lots of different ways we can look at things, and it's not about what is the answer and what is the right one. It's about trying to constantly pull our mind to think about things from different ways.
Just quickly, because I'm conscious of time.
Yeah.
But we did have a question from Julie, who asked in regards to the fish. Is it a little bit chicken and the egg in terms of did the genetic mutation cause the behavior, or did the behavior cause the genetic mutation?
So the chicken and the egg is always a funny analogy. We do have an answer for that, by the way. It's the egg. But in case you didn't know.
Duh.
The yeah, no, we there is so the environment puts again, so we get into this area of where it's like, okay, well, did some change happen inside of this ironclad, impenetrable shell of skin that we call an organism, or scales of fish in this case, or did it happen because of pressures from the environment? And again, we set that juxtaposition up that's going to cause us to fail. These changes are happening in real time alongside each other at the same time. So we can't separate these changes from, mutation happens randomly over, I can't remember the rate, but you're going to have mutation happening on a regular basis. And we have protein that goes and says, oh, whoops, this is the wrong letter, put that one in the right place, polish it up and say, okay, you're ready to go again. But over time, it makes mistakes. And it misses one, it's like the protein needs a pair of better reading glasses or something, because it's like, oh, that was a G, I thought it was a C, and it misses the errors that start to occur, and so we start to see things like aging, and we see our DNA sequence becomes shorter and shorter over time, and fundamentally we die because we breathe oxygen, because the way the effect that has, the environment has on changing just our entire genetic structure.
We are close for time, so people were very excited on Twitter about how they could get involved in the SPARCS initiative and support it. So as the founder of SPARCS, can you just briefly tell people at home who are very excited how they can support this initiative?
Well, the best way to support is with membership. This is our second year. We have a lot of new videos coming out as you're watching now. We do have our videos from last year. Each year we will be adding new content, more and more content, membership gives everyone access to all of the videos to watch on demand. And so we hope that you feel it's a tremendous value. But Clive always teases me that SPARCS can't exist on goodwill alone. And as year after year, dozens of people constantly say to me, you got to charge for the live stream. I keep fighting, saying no. That just defeats the purpose. You put a payment gate on it. You put an email gate on it. You put something that's going to prevent people from watching. And you're going to decrease viewership. If you want to combat the bad job that media does with science. As I'm sure you've seen the clip of Clive talking about, the narrative in science, the scientists believe and the scientists, like all scientists agree about everything. Obviously we don't. And if you're going to combat those kinds of things, you're going to combat TV dog shows that often, that have huge production value and the messages are traveling down multiple neural networks. You're not going to publish a book and fight that. You've got a neural network being built in people of unbelievable amounts of rich information coming in through higher streamed media, through HD video, through TV, through the wonderful production job that TV does with these shows. You've got to combat it with media on a similar level. But you're not going to do it by creating a Nova special where you ignore the controversies that exist on a subject, or at least at very best do just a very shoddy job at it.
I know that everyone's really grateful that you are streaming it for free and ungated. If people can't perhaps afford a membership, what's something else they can do to still support the initiative?
You can donate, and there is a donation button. You can, $5 even. It's anybody who really wants to support what it is we do. While a membership is wonderful, but a membership is not, if you had asked me for $100 right now, dust would come out of my wallet. But anything helps. And even if you don't have money, helping spread the word, helping telling people about the broadcast. Hey, here's a link to something where you're going to watch things, you're going to have total disagreements about some stuff, and you're going to love other stuff, that's kind of the idea, it's just to get excited and, passionate about, engaging new ideas, and it's just open access.
You just gave me goosebumps. Okay, I think we're going to have to call it time there because the next session's due to start. Yeah. So we might just take a really, really quick break in case the theatre audience need to grab a refreshment.
Yeah, let's do 10.
Okay, 10 minutes and we'll be back then.
Thank you.